What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Confidently Flawed. Your host, Brooke and Danny here. And today I'm sitting here thinking about our conversation and I'm getting a flashback of like my life. And I feel like I am like our generation of like, I guess where we're at in our age of like we've experienced life like in the transition of having social media and having screens and not having them and them being just where they are today. And I can like close my eyes and literally remember like the AOL plug-in and you'd hear that like to hear the internet, right? And like before we even like I think I was one of the first ones of my friends to get an iPhone. Like, holy, what is this smartphone thing? Like I was also one that had a flip phone. Like I feel like I've experienced all of that. And sitting back and thinking about that and why I'm sharing that is because I just society has changed, right? Like we have gone through so much evolution of change and wow, yes, like technology is so beautiful. Like we're able to do so much with it. I also think that this convenience of social media and the convenience of screens and technology has really affected us and really hurt our health and is really truly making some damaging impacts that people don't fully realize. And again, I'm not one to say that like I don't love social media, but in so many ways I hate it. And I sit there and like look around. I mean, my husband and I were just on a trip to Europe and there were so many times where we would be sitting down and we'd be looking next to us and there'd be a couple both on their phones and we're just like, you're in Italy right now. Like, what are you doing scrolling social media? Like, enjoy what you're looking at. And I just think that again, there's just so much damage that's been done with screens. And so, today we wanted just to talk about how the change in society has made an impact on our health and wellness.
Yeah, and I think the thing that gets me, because I obviously were relatively similar in age. I'm definitely older than you, but so I grew up in that as well. And the one of the biggest things that I think is why it makes such an impact for like convenience, mainly for like entertainment and dopamine, right? Where before we'd have to actually go out and experience something to get that dopamine hit or to get that, that feeling, that sense, that primarily from dopamine, whether that's go out and interact with people or whether that's go out and do an exercise or workout, or sometimes in the negative, go to drugs or alcohol, things like that, right? But we'd have to actually physically go and do something where now we can literally just touch a button and we instantly have massive dopamine hits, which becomes addicted and things of that nature. And that's very hard to get away from. And I bet you if all of us go look at our phone and look at our screen time app, we'd be like, "Oh my, this is way too much." And how often do we hear, Brooke, like, "Oh, I don't have time for this or that. Like, I don't have time to do this. I don't have time to get my workouts in, prep my food, blah 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 blah." I bet you if we cut out a portion of that screen time, we'd probably be able to. So the enemy of the world right now, in particular us here in America, is screens, man. It's like it's so convenient, easy to get that good sense and good feeling that it almost forces us to not want to go out and experiencing life, like you said, when you're in Italy, or not want to, because we know for sure I'm going to get a dopamine hit if I open this app, right? Where in Italy, like you got to go out and you got to look and you got to see things, and like it almost like isn't the same type of dopamine rush that we get when we're in our phones, which is crazy, but it's true. You know what I mean? And it's very hard to get away from that. And how that impacts your health and your fitness is, for one, you lack time because you're scrolling through there and getting your hits there. For two, you don't have the motivation to go do it because you're getting your serotonin, your feel good from scrolling, Facebook or whatever your choice of things are, and it just it limits our motivation. It limits our time from being able to do that. So I think if I'm looking at from a 30,000-foot view, like what can I do about that? If your health and fitness is a priority for you, which I'm assuming if you're listening to this, it probably is, that
Yeah.
you want to live a healthy and happy life. And so what do we do with this? Like how, like things aren't going to change, right? We're not going to go backwards and get rid of our phones. We're not going to go backwards and even you and I talking about this, like we wouldn't want to go back to the flip phones. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I use it
No.
so much, I do so much on it. Like I don't want that. There is a lot of pros to it, but how is it negatively impact me and what can I do about it when it comes to my health and fitness? And for me, I think an easy thing that you can start to do is like even if you are scrolling and you love that, you want to keep doing that. It's a release for you, whatever it is. Like is there ways that you can incorporate your health and fitness in this, right? Like maybe while you're watching your favorite show, you prep your food or you do push-ups or bicycle kicks or like ab work or you do some squats or do a squat hold until the next commercial. Like make it a game, make it fun, and if anything, it might even make it more impactful because now you're associating something you love to do with something that you want and need to do, right? So I think for me, the first thing is not even necessarily to cut it out, but just to say like how can I incorporate my health within myself doing this, you know?
Yeah, I mean, think about people who walk on treadmills and like watch a TV, and there's like all of a sudden I was walking on a treadmill for 60 minutes because I just was watching my TV show. And yeah, you kind of get lost in the TV show, but like you're still exercising. And I love that. And I think that that's a great idea. I mean, if you need these things, if you need your TV shows, if you need your scrolling, like find the right times for it. I'm not gonna sit here and say don't do it because I know that that's in like we're gonna do it, right? But I also do believe that the excuses behind I don't have time aren't valid until you go to your screen time and you see how much you've been on your phone. And then you go to your screen time on your Netflix and see how many TV shows you've been watched. Like I truly don't believe that we don't have enough time, and I think that's a huge change in society is that society used to have so much more time for things, and now we hear that people are just so busy and they're so busy, and like I don't think they're really that busy. I just think that people are so sucked into their phones that all of a sudden they wake up in the morning and they're scrolling social media for 30 minutes and then they're like, "Holy crap, I'm rushing for work." And then you're late for work and, "Oh, I slept in." No, you didn't sleep in. You spent 30 minutes scrolling social media. And I just think that all of that makes such a difference in just everything. And so again, how to incorporate it, I like the idea watch TV while you're cooking or go for a walk and watch it or listen to a show or watch a show or you know reward yourself like okay I'm going to do 10 push-ups and then I'm going to get to scroll for 10 minutes and then if I want to scroll for 10 more minutes then I'm going to do 10 more push-ups, however that might be. Or when you're watching TV at nighttime, like if TV, like I know in our household, like my husband's love language is quality time. Like as much as I am not a TV person, like in order for me to like serve my husband in my marriage, like he needs that quality time. We need to watch TV every single night before we go to bed together because that's like how we get it. But like if you're someone who's like, you know what, maybe that's just you can sit there and work out or do some sit-ups or roll on a foam roller or do some stretches. Like you can still have that quality time like you're still in the same area but like you can get a little bit of exercise out of it. And I think that people think too hard. Like you don't have to sit there and drip sweat before bed. Like a simple stretch or put your legs up the wall while you're watching TV. Like that in itself is a huge benefit for our lymphatic system and just for our overall, just our blood flow and our circulation. And so little things like that, I think that if you can just find pockets of time for your scroll or, I mean, obviously when you're scrolling, there's really not much that you can do. I always joke that the scroll time should be on the shitter.
Huh,
Right. No,
get
like
that.
that's when you can get, when you're like, hey, you got to get the business done. And so like you might as well utilize that time. So I guess there you go. That's not really exercise, but hey, going poop is healthy for you. Like you should be having healthy bowel movements. So if that means that you have to sit on the toilet to scroll to go to the bathroom, just make sure you wash your hands and you wash your phone because bringing your phone in the bathroom is really gross. But I think that if you can find little ways, like we can't go back in time, right? Like we can't go transport ourselves to 50 years ago when there was no technology or internet or smartphones. Like we are living in this generation, so we have to focus on like we've kind of talked about the last few episodes, like what can we control? We can't sit there and say I'm going to get rid of my smartphone, I'm going to get rid of my TV. Like let's be, realistic. But like how can we not abuse these situations and abuse these screens?
Well, and if you do it while you're on the toilet, like maybe you get your fix there, and then it saves you time later so you can do your stuff, but I like to involve it, like, so you mentioned, with your husband, like doing it where you serve him in terms of like what he needs, right? And I think it's okay to have that conversation too, like, hey, I totally want to do this with you, all that, like, I'm struggling to find some time to get some of my exercise in. Do you mind if, like, just the first part of it, like, I do some like push-ups and stuff like that in between commercials? Like, he'd probably be perfectly fine with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, be
Yeah.
like, all right, cool. Like, it's commercial. Let me rep out push-ups till we're there. And maybe he jumps in with you. Cause I think that's another thing. Like, if you can intertwine your family or loved ones or whatever in it as well, it makes it
Yeah.
that much easier. And I think, Brooke, to the scrolling, like, there's things that you could still do. I could do like a plank while I'm scrolling, or I could like lay on my back and do like, leg flutters or something like that. Like, you could still find ways. But I think regardless of the way is like whatever you're doing and whenever you're finding your scroll time, just find other ways that you can benefit your health while you're doing it. Like, I think that's
Yeah.
the biggest thing is you don't have to you don't have to just sit there and scroll. If time is the biggest thing for you, or you're struggling to get things in, you know, make it an effort that, like, all right, well, I'm going to do this and I want to do this. So might as well get more out of it and impact my health and fitness, and just say, like, instead of cutting out screen time completely, how can I intertwine some of my goals with this, or make it the reward, right? That's even better. Like, is okay, I did my workout today, so now I get an hour of screen time, right? Like we do with like
Yeah.
our kids or something, but it's gonna make it that much more enjoyable when you do go to scroll and things like that, because you earned it, if you will, right? So,
Hmm.
like, set a cap, like, okay, I can only do 30 minutes a day, but if I work out or if I do X, Y, or Z, I get an extra 15 minutes every time I do that, or 30 minutes, or whatever it is for you. And you play a little game out of it. And I always am a big avid of, like, tie in like things that you want to accomplish and do with things that you like and enjoy doing that you're already doing. You're
Yeah.
much more likely to stick with things and enjoy it, and kind of like the process along the way.
I love that. So kind of thinking on this episode and just thinking of like one takeaway that like I could recommend to the listeners, and I love to hear what you have to say with that too, Danny, of just like what's one takeaway is I would definitely I kind of agree with Danny, but I won't steal it from him in the sense of like incorporating into your life, but like just don't let it rule your life is what I want to say. Like don't let the phones, don't let the Netflix, like don't let it rule your life. Like I just did a recent like 21 day where I deleted all social media off my phone. And it was the most liberating, freeing thing ever. And yeah, it was hard. Like it was almost obnoxious. Like I'd sit there and go to my phone and like go to click Instagram and I'm like, okay, this is like honestly unreal. Like that's how addicted I am. But like finishing it and I realized like, oh my gosh, like my mornings are so much better because I'm not scrolling as much. Like I'm able to do so much more. And my evening time is like so much more. I'm so much more present with my home, like in my home life. And I just think if you can just let it not control you, if you can be honest and like really check in with yourself and see like, okay, how much TV are you watching a day? Like, just be honest with yourself. Like, I don't know any of you guys' stories. I don't know where you're at with things. And you can sit there and like put a blind eye to what you're doing. But at the end of the day, you're the one who has to put your head down at the pillow every single night and know what you did. And so I think if you can just be honest with yourself and be like, okay, listen, I'm not going to let this screen time rule my life. And if you can just really step away from that, you will feel incredible. And yes, if that means that in order to slowly break the habit of the screen time, you have to incorporate it in your fitness. Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I think that's a great idea. But when we let these screens control our lives, we not only miss so many opportunities, but then we start realizing that we don't have time, but we really do have the time.
Yeah, that has to be mine. Is I wouldn't even worry about cutting it out first, for me personally, because I'm a big believer at this stage in like being a coach. Where before I was very like, you got to do it all right away, right? And I've learned the hard way that that's not the best approach. Is keep it simple and like keep your screen time,
Yeah.
but just either intertwine it to with being healthy, like cooking your meals while you're watching your favorite show, or as you're scrolling or whatever it is, like do some push-ups in between stuff, or like every 5 scrolls, you got to do something, right? Like an
Yeah.
exercise or something like that, right? So, like, whatever it is, incorporate it within what you're doing, or reward yourself doing. I think you could go either
Mm,
way and say, like, all right, I get to do it, but I have to do X, Y, or Z for my health first, right? Because that's more
Yep.
important. And even if you love your screen time, I almost guarantee all of you listening would probably argue or agree with me that your health and your fitness is much more important than your screen time, right? It's going to make a
Absolutely.
much bigger impact. So that would be my thing for, how do we incorporate our new lifestyle of all these screens and all this screen time, and how can I still infuse my health and fitness into it?
I love it. Well, that's our episode for you guys today. If you got any value from it, please share it, rate us, review us. That's how we just get this podcast out there and how we know that you guys are still hanging out and still listening with us week after week. So thanks again always for tuning in, and we'll be back next week with another episode of Confidently Flawed.
Cool. All right, we got
Oh.
them. So